And this week we're going to build off of that. And what we're talking about today is building belief, unlocking the power to achieve your goals. All right. A lot of times we fail at the goals that we're trying to achieve because we don't really believe that we can. It's like things that we want, but when it comes down to our internal belief, when we are by ourselves and there's nobody in there in our head but us, we really don't believe that we can achieve it. So we find ourselves doing self-sabotaging behaviors and then going through the cycle over and over again, which further feeds that belief that we are not that person or we cannot do that task or that thing, right? So with the identity shift, and when we are looking at those identity statements, there is a belief that has to come in at some point to allow us to do the work to become the person who that is. All right, I'm going to say it again. When it comes to our I am statements, there is a certain amount of work that has to be done to allow us to do the work to become that person. So with those I am statements, I'll give you an example. Let's say if I was let's say this was a few years ago and I was just starting out in the fitness industry and I was like, hey, I want to be a personal trainer. And so I would have written my I am statement as I am a personal trainer. Okay, at that time, I might have been working a 9 to 5 and worked out maybe one day a week. So if I have a belief that I am in the fitness industry, I'm a personal trainer, my actions have to change. What does a person who is a personal trainer do? Well, first off, they work out. Okay, so I have to become a person that is consistent with my own routine before I can impact anybody else for their routine, right? And then even when it goes back to what we were discussing last year as far as being a child of God versus a servant, what does a child of God act like? They don't ask for things. They go do it. They ask for assistance and help, okay? They don't say, Lord, tell me what to do. Now, sometimes they might have guidance if they get stuck, but as far as, Lord, help me pay the bill, it's like God has already given you everything that you need to pay the bill. Let's stop asking God for minute things and say, show me where this money is coming from. Show me where these finances are coming from. Show me how to live in abundance like I'm supposed to, okay? So the point of today is to focus in on building our belief systems that are necessary to align with our identity statement so that we can break the patterns of self-sabotage. Okay. The mind, sorry, my voice is doing a little something weird today, but the mind-body connection is something that we really need to consider when we think about belief. If you think about a fire, right? You go up to a fire, you believe that that fire is hot, right? So there's a certain way that your body reacts to it because it has a belief. Now, this may be some special magic trick or something where it looks like fire, you can feel the heat coming off the fire, but it doesn't burn you. It could be. But if our belief is that it is hot, our body reacts a certain way, right? There's even certain hormones that may be produced. Our body might even go into flight or fight mode because it's like, hey, so this is danger here. I'm getting close to this fire. So that's how we have to become with our beliefs. We believe it so much that our mental and our body reacts to it a certain way because the belief is there. All right. I wanted to give you guys this example as well. So with Micah doing his 20-day fast, he said one of his goals for last year was to get closer to God, build his relationship with God, and he wanted to figure out how. He said God told him to do a 40-day fast, 40. And he was like, well, I can't do that. The person that I am today cannot do that, but I have to do something to build my belief, right? To build my belief that I can do a 40-day fast and not X out. I'm just going to say that, not X out. So what he did was he started with a 24-hour fast, okay? We started doing those 24-hour fasts every day. And for the record, that was never my goal. Past 5, yeah, it's a little bit different. But started with a 24-hour fast every week. And then we started to dabble in the 3-day fast, okay? After the 3-day fast, he bumped it up to 5-day fast. After the 5, he bumped it up to 7. After 7, he bumped it up to 15. He shot for the 15 fast. Didn't have that belief that he can complete it, found a way out, so it ended up being a 9-day fast. He said, okay, yeah, I may have not have reached this goal that I desired initially, but I'm going back around again. 15-day fast. 15-day fast is knocked out. Now it's on the 20-day fast. So keep that in mind. Doing little things, having little tasks that reinforce your belief in yourself to do the thing or to become the person. So I want you guys to go back and write that down. What are the small things that I can do to help me with the bigger goal of the belief in myself to become the person that I desire? All right. I want you guys to clearly identify some of the beliefs that you have. Tisha, I know you're packing, but maybe you could come off if you have something for this. But what are some limiting beliefs that you have, whether it's fitness, relationships, business? Let me know. Either one of you guys have anyone that you could think of right off?
I'd say for me, limiting beliefs that I have are that I'm not worthy enough to accomplish the goals that I set out to do, or if I really think about it, I don't have the capabilities to accomplish the things that I want to do.
Okay. So that's step one, right? Is identifying, hey, I have a belief that doesn't lead to my desired outcome. I have a goal for something, but I have a belief that directly contradicts that. So after you identify those beliefs, you have to take a step back and say, what are things that pop up that reinforce those beliefs? What are my common patterns? Do I start things and then after a certain amount of time, I just let myself believe that I'm too busy to get it done? So if it were to get done and it wasn't good enough or it wasn't right, I at least said, hey, I didn't ever get it done. I didn't get it done, so it's not good because it never got done, you know? Or even with fitness, let me use a more detailed example for you, Kia. Let's say, okay, I want to drop 100 pounds. Let me just be like, oh, I got so busy with this, I didn't get to work out, so I cannot have the fear of failing. Hey, I did the exercise, but it's still not working. The weight's not coming off. You never have to face that because you never do the thing consistently. And I'm not saying that for you, but I'm just saying that could be a limiting belief, right? If I believe that the fire is hot, but I'm trying to shift my belief to saying, hey, the fire is not hot, well, a way to never have to get past that belief is just never go near the fire. Oh, well, yeah, I didn't go near the fire today because, I just went and got fast food, so I didn't have to go near the fire, right? So sometimes you have to put yourself literally in the fire to change that belief that you have. It may start with getting closer. It may start with putting your hands over it. It may start with the finger. And then over time, you're able to step in the fire and be like, hey, I was trying to change my belief that this fire is hot, and now I have done so, okay? Some things that happen that cause us to deter from reaching our goals or staying consistent with it is fear of failure, trying to be perfect, or feeling like it's too late for you, right? I'll say that again. Fear of failure, trying to be perfect, or thinking that it's too late. And I can say that for myself as far as the feminine and fit movement goes. There's a lot of things that I want to do, and it's like, well, it has to be perfect, or, well, I need to be here, I need to be here, I need to be this. And it's like, hey, there is somebody that can benefit from you right here where you are now. It's not saying that you don't continue to work to be better. It's just saying, hey, get it done. Do the thing to become the person. If I say that I want to speak on stages across the world, right, and I want to positively impact people, I have to do these calls. It gets me more used to talking. It makes me more comfortable expressing my ideas. It makes me more aware of some things that I need to work on. For example, if I'm saying well 1,000 times, it brings those things to my forefront, right? It makes me realize that I'm not perfect, but it also gives me the space to make corrections, to get more comfortable. Same thing with your exercising, right? Same thing with staying consistent with the fasting. Small beliefs. Hey, I knocked out a 24-hour fast. I did something. I worked towards the goal. I may not have been perfect with it, but I am holding myself accountable, for one, and being gentle with myself at the same time. I'm saying, okay, I went for 5 days. I only got 24 hours in. Okay, next time, let me see if I can add on a few hours. Let me see if I can bring it to 2 days. All right, did 2 days. Let me see if I can bring it to 3 days. And continuing to go after the thing instead of being like, hey, this didn't work. Now the energy towards it isn't as intense, right? Okay. Now, how do you shift from disbelief to belief? That's the hard part. Hey, I may not be able to achieve this because I don't really have the belief in myself. Okay, how do I find the belief within myself, right? For one, what you just did is acknowledging that it's there. A lot of times we don't want to acknowledge that the negative belief is there. We just want to stay with our excuses. Well, I have the girls, I have this, I just had a baby. It's just a lot going on right now. It's easier to stick with the excuses. So instead of taking the excuses, taking a step back, this is what it is. I have a limiting belief here, and that's why I haven't gotten this accomplished. That's why I haven't been consistent with it. Identify it and even write it down. Have that moment of honesty with yourself to write it down and say, okay, this is what it is. And then the next thing is challenge it. Ask yourself, is it true? Is this belief true? Okay? Can I lose weight? Where did this come from? Okay? And then when you challenge it, ask, is it true? But where did the limited belief come from? Maybe it was something in your past that happened that you may have fell off. Okay? Maybe it is fear. Maybe it is everybody in my life or everybody in my family is big and overweight, and I haven't seen anybody make a transition from losing a certain amount of weight. 5-10 pounds here or there, but as far as a dramatic amount of weight, I haven't seen anybody do it. Or I haven't seen anybody have a successful business coming from ground up. I've seen people kind of do their little things as side hustle, but I haven't seen anybody be fully productive and profitable from it. Acknowledge those beliefs and then decide, where did it come from? Where did this come from? Okay? The next step is replacing it with a new and empowered belief, okay, that is tied into your identity statement. So when you have your identity statement, of course, we're going to be reading those every day to reinforce that positivity, but add those in. Add that as a line, even if it's multiple beliefs that you want to shift. Every day, do a different one. Do your identity statement and then a different one. I am losing this amount of weight. I am effective in pouring into the lives of other women. I am capable. I am worthy of healthy, thriving relationships. Okay? And then the trick is you can do all of that. The first step, acknowledging it. Step 2 is challenging it. Step 3 is replacing it. You can do all of those things, but it only makes a difference if you are going through these steps and recalling this information in a tough time, right? So if I am telling myself that I'm going to have healthy, thriving relationships, I can't forget if I get in an argument with Bootbang, I can't forget then and start telling myself those negative beliefs, right? Telling myself, if it's not one thing, then it's another. I can't go back to that place. I can't go back to that negative self-talk that we talked about last week. Or not even negative self-talk, negative talk about the things in the situation. Because if I'm like, let's say that relationship example, even if I'm looking at him and I'm just like, oh man, they're just the same, They just selfish. They just this, that's just that. I am further feeding that negative belief. So it only makes a difference if I use it when it's being challenged, and know that it will be challenged, but you got to challenge it back. Is this real? Okay? Is this belief that just popped up after this situation real, or did we just have an argument or a bad communication? Because those things happen in real life relationships. This is not a fairy tale. This is not Disney Channel. It's more like Lifetime. I'm just playing. I'm just playing. But challenge yourself, okay? Is this real? Do I really not feel loved? Do I really not feel respected? Or am I in my feelings? And then come back to it later. Another thing that I want you guys to try is visualizing the ideal situation or the ideal self, okay? And with that, I want y'all to actually like take some time, whether you're like, you know how you just drive and you're thinking about something, or maybe you take the time out to have a meditation and literally go through what it looks like at my ideal self, at my fittest self, at my healthiest self, mentally, spiritually, at myself that is what I want to be in my career. Whether you want your own business, whether you're like, hey, I just want to work doing A, B, C, and D. What does it look like? What do you feel like? Okay? If your goal is to lose a certain amount of weight, what does it feel like to go to the pool with your kids in a 2-piece? How do you feel? And literally see it in your head. Feel it. You might even have some like, oh, I felt nervous. Oh my goodness, I got my stomach out. That's okay, because you're there. You're putting yourself in that space. And then once you start visualizing it, like do it so often that you have to go after those goals. It's like I've literally been here in my mental already, so now I got to bring my real life body, my real life self, and put it in that position. I have to visualize myself speaking on stages in front of people. I can't be passive there. I have to visualize it. How do I move? How am I feeling confident? Do I have a surge of energy that comes around me when I start speaking? And start to feel those feelings and those emotions of being in that state. Did y'all know that your body, if you could take your mind there, your body reacts the exact same way as if something is happening? That's why it's so dangerous when we allow our head to like go places, because our body starts producing those same emotions, those same chemical hormones that it would if something is actually happening. And it was just let me see. It was just a paper with a phone number, and now all of a sudden you made up this whole story in your head about what the paper with the phone number mean, and where is he going, and what is he doing, and all of this, and all of those emotions that are produces all of those hormones, and you are in the state, you are living it in real life, but nothing has happened. And guess what happens when we put energy behind something? I told y'all last week about us manifesting this heart for Cliff. We did it with the baby. Anything you put energy behind, it has no choice but to take off. And you're like, I don't know why my it's like everything is just going downhill. Everything is just happening. What's the energy you putting behind it? Did you take your toe being stepped on at 8 o'clock this morning, and did you take that negative energy through the whole day, and now somebody then wasted your food and almost made you have an accident and all of that? What's the energy that we are putting behind it? So shift that energy, visualize it, and put that positive energy to reinforce it. I'm going to show you guys this book that I was reading too. It talked about how we naturally feel more intensely for negative things, but how that comes from our like need to live and exist in fight or flight. You know, if it's a big old tiger, you need to feel those intense emotions to fight off and stay alive. So it's in our natural person to hold more on to negative things. So we have to be aware of that as well and shift it. So be intentional about the visualizing. Let me not try to take that there, but be intentional about visualizing the positive things so that we can get those positive effects, those positive hormones going and all of that. Now, shifting into another angle, this is a big one, okay? And I'm sure that we've all seen it at some point in time in our lives when trying to become the person that we need to be to get the job done. Self-sabotage. Self-sabotage. How many times have we been in situations and it had the potential to be good? We had the potential to get that weight off, keep it off, to get those abs, keep the abs, to have a healthy relationship, keep the healthy relationship, and we find ourselves in self-sabotage. Okay? That goes back to that other thing that we just went through, and being able to identify and say, oh no, this is that. And not be like, oh, well, they did this and they didn't. But it's anything that happens to you. If you say that it's something outside of you, you're wrong. It's always you. It always has a way to come back to you. Okay? Your disbelief in yourself, or your disbelief in being able to get the job done, automatically makes you pretty much end a failure. And then you start doing things to self-sabotage. You may notice that you start to skip workouts. You start to overthink, you know. You may be tolerating unhealthy relationships. You know, all of those things come into play when you have that disbelief. You're like, oh, well, if you don't really think that you can lose the weight, get in shape, you can be, oh, well, I had something to do today. So, but if you really believe, if that energy behind it, like we talked about with the fire, if you really believe, hey, this is hot, it's a certain way that you react. It's a certain things that you do and don't do when you have that belief. So sometimes you might need to just take a step back and be like, hey, I think that I believe this, but do I really? What do my actions show? If a belief is there, it's certain ways that I move, it's certain ways that I interact, certain things that I do and that I don't do. What do my actions say? Do my actions show that I really believe what I'm saying that I believe? Do my actions show that I really believe the things that I'm saying that I want and that I desire from my life? Or have I been self-sabotaging? Okay? So with that, I want you guys to be intentional about your journaling. Even if you're out and about and you need to put something in your phone, is there any triggers that cause you to self-sabotage? And identify them. Maybe it's when you hear somebody start talking negatively about who you were, right? They're like, let me move this because you know you might eat up all of this. And you're like, I wasn't even thinking about that, you know? Is that a trigger? Do you find yourself later on that day or the next day like, oh, I might as well just eat it, or oh, I had a rough day, I'm just gonna jump back on it later, and making excuses for yourself? Find out your triggers. Maybe your trigger is, okay, every time somebody says or leaves me out, or if I feel like I'm not included in something, now I start getting uncertainties. Identify them. You will be surprised if you're like, wait a minute, did I feel some kind of way? Did I have a trigger? Did something happen? Or wait a minute, I didn't get this done, and when I was so hype and excited about accomplishing this goal and I didn't get it done, what happened? What was it? Was there a trigger? Write those things down so when the triggers happen again, you're like, wait a minute, I'm not falling into the trap again. Go ahead, Tisha.
Girl, because I don't know if y'all remember that I had made a goal to want to be diabetes certified at work. And I went through like a period where I just like kept making mistakes over and over again. I kept like getting it called QREs. And I was like, dang, like what is going on? Like, I know I'm human and all that stuff, and I'm gonna make mistakes, but I was like, yeah, like what's happening? Like, what's really good? So then like now I started self-doubting. And I was like, shoot, I might not need to do no diabetes training because I'm messing up on these simple prescriptions. Like, how in the world am I going to coach somebody through their disease state if I can't get a simple prescription right? So I did not meet that goal, but I'm glad we're having this talk.
So when we getting it done then?
I don't know.
Well, I'm gonna need you to tell me by Monday. Tell me when you're gonna have it done. Yeah. And Tisha, that's so priceless to be able to identify and be able to put yourself in it and be like, wow, that was a self-sabotaging thing. Things happen, but then also things come to challenge you, right? Even if we think about it on a spiritual level, right? Taking it to the Bible. The Son of God. If you're really the Son of God, do this, do that. It's like, wait a minute, I don't have to explain myself to you. You know who I am. I know who I am. Things happen. Things are going to come up to challenge you, to make you think otherwise, or to make you be like, All you got to do is keep being the person. Keep being the person. Not trying to become, because remember we talked about our last call on changing the way we speak about ourselves. We are not becoming. We already are the person. We are just now implementing and doing the things necessary to be the person. If I am a personal trainer, they work out. Now, some of them over there where y'all be, but that's neither here nor there. But doing the things that the person does, What does a person speaking on stages do? They speak. They are articulate. So I can't say I want that and then be scared to come over here and talk to y'all or be like, oh yeah, I'm just going to do a little check-in with them, make sure they did their exercises and stuff. No, I have to speak. I have to articulate these concepts because that's what the person does. If I am the person, that means I have to do what the person does. If you are certified in the diabetes, what is it called again, Tisha? Let me make sure I'm saying that correctly. It's a diabetes
state management.
Diabetes state management. If you were a person who is certified in that, you do it already. All of those the prescriptions that she was filling, you have to do it. Okay, do it again. We're trying again. We're doing it again. We're doing it again. And yes, it's natural for us to feel those emotions and be like, dang, or like, but what do? You just keep doing it. And then finding ways to reinforce your positive beliefs, right? So I can't really give you an example for yours, Tisha, because I don't know how that system works. But for fitness, that's a go-to. And I'll use myself for example. Coming back postpartum, I'm like, in my head, I'm like, oh, I should have abs in the first 2 weeks. Not first 2 weeks, first 2 months. Not first 2 weeks. And in my head, there was like, okay, I believe, especially once the baby came out and I realized, I was like, oh wait, it's a little, but it ain't bad. I'm like, I could do this. So in my head, I'm like, okay, 2 months, I'm gonna go hard, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. Because I gotta show them that you can bounce back, right? That's my energy behind it. And life started being life, right? So I had to find a way to, like we always talk about, being patient with yourself while also holding yourself accountable, because both of those go hand in hand. And I had to say, okay, I feel like I don't have time to get anything done. I've barely been doing stuff for the business that I set out. Okay, it may be a little bit slower. I had a talk yesterday. I've been talking to Micah and then I talked to my friend CJ. It may go a little bit slower, but am I remaining consistent with the things that I said that I was going to do? Yes, I may not be working out 7 days a week, but what am I going to do? I'm going to do the thing necessary to become the person. I know that my regular was, okay, I want to work out 3 times a week. I'm saying 4 times a week. I'm telling myself 4. And every day I have to make a time to move, even though I know that my time now is a little bit different. I may not have the time to go into the gym for an hour and a half and get a full workout in. So the times that I have, whether it's 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whether it's walking somewhere, I have to take advantage of those opportunities to get moving. Yes, I'm past 2 months postpartum now. I ain't got my abs. I'm a little salty about that. But do I stop? No, I have to be the person, and I have to become the person that does the thing to get the results that I want. I have doubts now. I'm looking at this. I'm like, wait, it wasn't necessarily fat put on, but I'm like, my stomach doing some weird stuff. Like, I can't even flex. Like, before, how you go somewhere and you like, oh, I'm walking in the room, let me just do a little suck in right quick. I'm like, this don't even work no more. I can't even, like, control this thing. I'm like, what the heck is going on? That's okay. I still got to be consistent with myself, and I have to be aware of what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, so that I don't hurt myself, have a huge setback, and then have a setback that reinforces the belief that I can't do it. Right? So, Akia, with your fast, you might have been like, hey, I'm going to do these 5 days, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And you got through one day. You've done multiple day fasts before. You've done 2-day fast, you've done 3-day fast, you've done it already. So don't let that belief creep in, hey, I can't do this because I only did 24 hours. 24 hours is great. Are we being like, oh, well, yeah, I did 24 hours, so let me just go ahead and eat this cupcake. I did something. No, we're not doing that either. All right, we're still holding ourselves accountable into the standard that we say that we are and that we're upholding for ourselves. But you're like, okay, didn't make it through the goal this time, but I did a 24-hour fast. That's excellent. And just trying it again. Keep coming after it. All right. So the key points that I want you guys to take of it is doing the things that are necessary to be the person. I want to get away from that word of becoming. If you want whatever the outcome is, I want you to see yourself as that person and decide what that person does. What does a personal trainer do? What is their day-to-day? What does a person who has their diabetes, I'm just going to call it diabetes certification, Tisha. What does that person do? What do they look like? Are they confident? When they make a mistake, is it like, oh my goodness? Or is it like, hey, whoopsies, all right, going back in here? What is a person who has the potential to lose up to 100 pounds? Dude, what do they look like? At the end, what do they look like? A person that's consistent, a person that makes better choices, a person that doesn't be like, oh, I'm just going to eat broccoli all day, every day. No, because the reality is that doesn't work. It might work for a couple weeks, maybe even a couple months, but a lifestyle for it? No, they have to change their lifestyle. They have to make better choices. When they're in the grocery store, they have to say, hey, I'm not going to buy this. I'm going to choose that because I also like that. So I want you guys to focus on the task of being. What does a person that has your end goal do? Do it day to day, and then taking this step back to see your triggers. So I want you guys to jot that down. And then also making sure that you're adding on to those I am statements to tell yourself the opposite of it. So Tisha, you need to have somewhere after your I am statement, it needs to be a line to say that you are certified or have that certification. You trying to come off mute? Okay. She's like, girl, I'm turning on this heat. All right. Did you guys have any questions, concerns about that? Anything? Oh, you said 1 second. Okay. And then I have some homework for you guys. Go ahead.
Okay. Could you say what you said just a few minutes ago of what we need to put up under there? Because I was trying to take notes.
Okay. Girl, you better be careful taking notes in them car. I appreciate it, but we got to replay. Ask me the question one more time.
What did you say after our I am statement?
Okay, to add to it. All right. So if there is a clear, identifiable negative belief that you have about yourself or a situation or something that you're trying to achieve, I want you to write the opposite of it.